Welcome to the Salt Stands Alone podcast. My name is Hank. With me is nobody, because this is a solo pod. It's a new show, trying, because of scheduling, me and Ben have no recording time, because he is a busy dad. So this is kind of just going to be me talking about stuff I would talk about on a salt pile, but with no back and forth. Just what's going on in my media consumption head. So the main thing I wanted to talk about was I just watched on YouTube a recording of the original cast putting on a performance of Into the Woods, which I had never seen before. I've listened to the songs, but I'd never seen the full play. And I have seen the movie, which I'll get to. And I was struck by how fucking funny it is. Like, it's broad. It's like kind of broad, like sitcom flavor, like pausing for the audience laughing. It's silly. And I'd kind of fallen into the trap of like reading, like thinking about the songs and reading the like the stupid Wikipedia page and getting in my head about like Baker's wife getting kind of fridged or whatever, and just thinking like, maybe this thing isn't as good as I thought it was, because its ideas about meta narrative I don't think are that interesting. Like that part of it doesn't hold up to me. I'm not that thrilled with it. But watching the play, it's just so entertaining that I definitely don't care. And it's so silly that now I don't. It doesn't take itself that seriously. It's people talking about it can kind of fuck off. It's just fun, and because seeing the like original actors, like their characters makes a lot of like perfect sense for those performers. Like it just all lines up. And it's just extremely entertaining and funny. Very funny. I always knew the movie was dog shit. But it's like no fun. It's dark and ugly. But now I have a greater appreciation for it being even worse than I thought it was. Like just really awful. Like Agony is still a fun song. There are moments in the songs that are funny, but I didn't realize how consistent it was throughout the whole thing. And like losing the narrator in the movie is like a fucking crime. So yeah, I recommend watching I'll post a link to it in the description. But that recording of Into the Woods, very good. All right, that's one topic. I'm gonna strike through on my fucking thing. The other thing was I fell into a little hole looking at dedicated audio players, or DAPs, because you can't call them MP3 players or whatever, because mostly the new ones are like designed to play every type of audio file, like FLAC and whatnot, and the fancy ones are like beefy enough to power your audiophile headphones or whatever. Now, the important thing here is that I'm not an audiophile. I will listen to, like, I have limits for how bad. Like, I don't want it to be fucking staticky or whatever. If you got like electrical noise in the signal, that's bad, but I am not an audiophile. MP3s are fine for me, for the most part. That's what I've listened to for a long time. That's what I'm comfortable with. This is the size of audio files I'm happy to have on my computer. not like taking up all the space, like re-getting my whole library with flax or whatever. Um, but there's a novelty to a little device with buttons, you know? That's primarily my interest. The and I looked up just stuff of like people saying why you should get a dedicated audio player, and mostly and like the three main arguments are you're an audiophile, so you care about getting beefier audio equipment than exists in a phone, which fair play. You can go, the sickos that are going to go spend $1,000 on a portable music player. Have at it. That's not me. That's out of my budget and interest in this kind of device. And the second one is people who are like mentally damaged by their phone. Like just need to not have their phone when they want to listen to music on a portable device, I guess. I also don't fall in this category, so I'm a little mean about it. Because like you have to but I get it. It's solving a problem. The problem is lack of self-control about not looking at social media or whatever. And so you pay to have a device to get off that, whatever. That's also not me. I also actually, and what's weird for me is I fought having a smartphone for the longest time. I just had a iPod Touch for a long time, and I had a dumb phone. So I understand the appeal to having those devices separate. Like having your phone in your little pocket computer, it's not like a benefit. It's just annoying. But I also know the benefit of having your pocket computer have cell service and thus be able to access the internet everywhere without having to find Wi-Fi. So, on the other hand, I know all the fucking parts of it that are a pain in the neck. So that I'm not like super enthralled about going back. Also, if you're buying you're spending when I was looking at this stuff, it's people saying mid-range, affordable DAPs, like $500. It's like paying more than a Switch 2 prices for a thing that just plays music. Which again, if that's what you care about, it's fine. But for me, it doesn't make sense when I have a phone that can do it. It can do it. You want to say what you want about like whether it can do it as well as another thing, it does the job. The headphones are going to matter a lot more, and there's Bluetooth versus wired stuff you can get into. I'm not exactly thrilled with the USB-C to audio jack dongle experience. But it's just way too expensive. Way too expensive. Also, I don't understand the part of the market that's just Android devices with the phone torn out. Like I get it because the iPod Touch isn't a thing anymore. And so there's a market for, a device that's basically a smartphone without the phone part. But if your problem is that you need to not look at your phone, I don't understand how that helps you. Wouldn't you want in that case, don't you need the device to be dumber than that? Um, it's just my only thought. And like the third appeal, which I would say is the closest one to where it is you like a neat little device. You like buttons. Buttons are cool. So having a device that's just like a touchscreen, not like you missing the point, as far as I'm concerned. Um, you want a neat little thing that has physical buttons and plays music or whatever. Plays audio files. That's like the idea. And there's some appeal in that, I would say. Not, you know, over $100 appeal, but you know, something. So I was just looking at. I was also just looking at them. Like it wasn't like I was looking at them. Like I was like, oh, convince me. I could be convinced, I guess, if something seemed neat, but I'm not like, I was, less interested than when I've fallen down holes looking at handhelds that just run emulators or whatever, which is a whole other thing. Those I'm like, is this the one for me? Whereas with these DAP videos, I'm like, who is this? What is this? Who is this for? Why is like, what are the things that matter to the person that wants this thing? And why do none of these seem worth it? To me, I guess. Because the other thing is, to me, the ideal device would, be cheap. And play music, just work or whatever. Have physical buttons. I really, and I'll get into it, but I really like the turn dial on the iPod. So having some kind of like spinny control, that's like appealing, and most of them don't have that. Definitely a touchscreen is like, fuck. Well, I just use my phone, whatever. But the other thing that I would want is a like dedicated UI that can just import podcasts from an RSS feed or whatever into the thing without it being a whole Android phone. Like in my dream scenario, that's the device I would want. It's not that expensive and does these two things: plays music and can download and manage podcasts. And I don't think that device exists. I think you're just getting something with Android if you're getting any of the podcasting download stuff. And that just means that I'm stuck with my phone. And you know what? I don't mind being stuck with my phone because my phone's pretty good. It does that pretty well, and I can just, and I don't get stuck reading my phone. I mostly am like, is there fucking anything on the internet worth reading while I take a shit? Is there anything out there that's worth looking at? Honestly, like the great Twitter exodus to Bluesky or whatever has mostly left me going, yeah, I just don't follow enough people on social media. There's just like not enough stuff in my feed to be interesting. Like I was checking it reflexively for a while, and then I was like, this is not, it's not enough. I need something else to do, to look at. Are there any websites that print words anywhere that's not AI generated? Please help me. If you have suggestions, I would love to read articles or something. I don't know. Like I started reading fucking video game websites for the first time just as they all fucking died and got like they're replaced with fucking AI articles or whatever. Uh, finally reading Polygon right as they fire everybody. It's because I need something. It's not fucking the news. Although I do read some of that too. Um. So yeah. Um. So I did see, one that was like, I think it was like $80, and it had a little wheel, and it had all these buttons, and people were like, "It's okay." it's, but it's kind of shit. But it's cheap, whatever. That's still kind of expensive for what I wanted. So what I did do was unearth my old iPod and just try to get that working again, which was more of a pain in the ass than I would want, because I had to. It wouldn't connect after being, having the battery so dead or whatever, and I had to reformat it, which meant I lost all the stuff that was on it, which means I had to re-import music, and also I lost all my old playlists that would have been fun to revisit that I don't have on my current computer. And also there was a copy of the 1981 movie Outland on there, lost forever. It's not a great movie, but there is a comic book adaptation, and so I did that. And there's the world of you install custom firmware on it, and I realized even that doesn't appeal to me, because I actually like I like the firmware on my iPad, and I'm not playing Flax. If you're playing Flax, if you want to play Flax, you have to get custom firmware to put your fancy audio files that are not Apple approved or whatever. But I'm like a weirdo who actually uses iTunes because of reasons. And I've just been using it for years, so I'm perfectly content. It's like it because I was in this ecosystem. It's actually like nostalgic to just like cook back into it and use the iPod stock. And also you get those nostalgic clicking noises when you use the thumbnail. All the menu, I like all the menuing in there. The reasons I stopped using it are it's like, it only plays music, and I listen to a lot of podcasts, and the managing of podcast files on and putting them on and then deleting them off a device is just annoying. When on my phone, I can just, play them manually and download them, so I'm not using data when I'm on Wi-Fi, and then delete them or whatever later. Eventually clear it all out. That I find way more convenient and low friction compared to the pain in the ass of managing files. Like, I'm just happy to have that. I did that for years because it was the only way, and when it was the only way, I was happy to do it. But there's a better way now, and I don't have to live like that. So it doesn't make me more. It didn't make me more invested in the podcast to have to do that, I would say. I would still eyes bigger than my fucking mouth or whatever, and download stuff and then never listen to it. That can happen either way. So it was fun to boot it up. It made me think I just need to get better headphones, because my current earpods are $10 ones. I bought it while I was out in the world at a convenience store or whatever, and they're just garbage. They work, which is all I want from headphones, because usually my experience with headphones is in earbuds. I really mean, not fucking headphones. I'm not walking around with headphones. I walk around with earbuds because they're small and I can still like hear the world, so I don't get fucking hit by a bus or whatever. But I just, I don't know, I looked up on Reddit or whatever, just some nicer earbuds that are also basically not more expensive than what I had. So that'll be fun. So I'm not really like converted to the DAP life. Um, Using an old device that I haven't used in a while is fun, but the act of like listening to music, you're not really interacting with the device that much. Um, so I don't understand the phone problem, other than if your phone has battery issues, which my fairly recent like nice phone, that doesn't have it. It doesn't have that. This phone has like the best battery of any device I've used in a long time. Like one of the reasons I had to replace my one of the reasons I got a smartphone for basically every reason I've ever replaced an iPod was the battery was shit. It was old. So I was like, well, I'll get a new device rather than figure out how to replace the battery, because this thing's old and I could also just get a new thing, you know? You know? Also, you know, just like not charging or whatever. The last iPod Touch was also like unstable. Like I dropped it was the first device my last iPod Touch was the first one that I dropped enough times that it like actually fucked up. Like it looked fucking cooked. And then like I let it sit and then it worked again. Like it was like a living creature that just needed some time for like to rest and recover, and not a piece of technology that, you know, you'd think would just fucking break and then not work. So there's also that mixed in. But mostly it's just like it wouldn't charge. Like cleaning out the bottom stopped working, and it just like I would like trick it where like pushing the cable in like this certain angle, then it will take a charge. Whatever. Like you can live like that for a while, but eventually it becomes old. You know? But luckily I still had my old charging cable for this iPod is also fucking shredded to hell. Like it's just fucking the covering is like ripped off on a part of it, and just like bare loose, the like wiring shielding inside is like fraying a little. It's like not a it's a the old cable. But also, like, I don't know how long the battery on this stupid iPod would last. So, like, we're gonna use it, like, for real. I unplugged this a while ago, and it's still holding a charge. This battery might actually just be better than I'm giving it credit for. I don't know. But also, like, the output is, yeah, I'm listening to the same music I'm listening to on my computer, I'm listening to on my phone. Like, I didn't there was novelty in using this device again, but I still don't really see the appeal over just using my phone. Like, I can store more on, like, the music isn't competing with space on my phone, which is an issue. I do fill up my phone with podcasts and then have to go and clear stuff out. But again, like, I'm mostly, and so, like, I don't keep that much music on my phone, so mostly I'm listening to podcasts on my phone, not listening to music. So the novelty of, like, listening to more having a dedicated music player, maybe I'd listen to more music. I don't know. thinking about it, but I would not say I was like converted. It was not. There was no like aha moment. No, this is better. It was like, yeah, this is like a thing I could do. I don't know. No. That's what's going on with me. Um, let's talk about something I have stronger feelings about, and that's Link's Awakening. You ever hear of Link's Awakening? The Game Boy game that was then remade as a Game Boy Color game that was then remade as a Nintendo Switch game that ran at a bad frame rate. But now, through the power of the DAP priced Switch 2, runs at a full 60. And that game's perfect. What a perfect 10 out of 10 video game. I just had a great time playing through that. It's just everything I want out of a Zelda game in terms of being like tight and fun and not meandering and boring. I don't know. There's something about like the simplicity of the side quests because it's a Game Boy game that I just really like. And it's because I'm a portable gamer in my heart of hearts. I like Game Boy games more than I like other games. So a tighter experience, just that's simpler, has more fat trimmed, is just more appealing to me. And Link's Awakening is that but Zelda. And it's fucking sick. It's so good. I don't really know how much, and like some of that is the remake because I've played Link's Awakening before, but I never played through it before on the Game Boy. It's because I didn't grow up with it. As an adult, it's a little stiff. The locking you to, 4 cardinal directions or whatever, the way it's programmed, it's a little stiff for me, for my taste, and the fact that a big part is you're only having 2 buttons. You're gotta work for a lot of menuing to get the most out of those 2 buttons. So like the controls in the new game, where stuff like your shield, your sword, dashing, have dedicated buttons. Incredible. that quality of life is extremely appealing to me. I don't find it that fun that you had 2 buttons in the original. I find that means you never use your shield. And all I want to do is have sword and jump equipped at all times. And when I have to switch to anything else, it's a pain in the ass. I guess when you get the wizard shot, maybe you equip that instead of sword. But whatever that spell's called, your ranged attack. I don't remember in this moment. Yeah, I've seen people complain about the art style in the remake. I find it's much more appealing playing it than it is in screenshots. And and I think on Switch 2, some of the edge of the screen like blur is not as bad as it was originally, which I think was annoying. But it's greatly alleviated on the patched Switch 2 version. So yeah, I don't know. It's just fucking great. And it's been since A Link Between Worlds that I played and loved the Zelda game. So, because I'm a 2D Zelda boy. The 3D ones have never grabbed me as a playing experience. I've enjoyed watching them much more than I've ever enjoyed playing them. Particularly games Wind Waker and Majora's Mask are my favorite to watch friends play, I would say. But like before Link's and before like A Link Between Worlds, my favorite that I played was Phantom Hourglass, which I can't go back to stylus life. That was a time and a place thing, because that game was entirely controlled by the stylus, and at the time it was fine. And then Spirit Tracks came out, and Spirit Tracks is fucking terrible, and I could no longer forgive any of that game system's faults. But I will say I did 100% Spirit Phantom Hourglass. I had a great time doing it. Loved that game in the moment, but not something I wish to return to. And again, the older Zelda games feel a little. I do like the more modern, like 360 movement control. So I'm like always desperate for them to make new 2D ones. Because Link Between Worlds was it also perfect. And it's like a big. I think it's. I think it's not as good as Link's. I think Link's Awakening is just better. That could be recency bias for which one I just played. But it's hard to top that Link's Awakening remake for me. That was a great. I'm still riding that high of that playthrough. When the girl agrees to help you and Link lifts her up, like he just got another object, because technically she is just a part of the fetch quest chain in that game. It's so fucking good. It's so good. Da 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 da. And then you put her back down. She runs behind you. It's great. What's next? All right, I wanted to talk about, I got into it kind of with the music library idea thing, which is I want to talk about physical media for a little bit. And the appeal of owning physical media as opposed to having a digital copy. I don't think there's an argument that I'm willing to hear about streaming services. I think obviously having a movie love rather than relying on streaming services is the way to go. Like, if you streaming services are for, I don't know. I'm pretty off streaming services honk. Um, because I want to spend my time watching things I want to watch. I don't want to spend my time turning on a streaming service looking at the stuff they have available and picking my poison. Um, I'm just off that mode of interacting with media uh, when there is a world where I can go, I want to watch this movie, and then go watch that specific movie. Not that I'm watching movies that often anyway, but so maybe that's the whole problem. But I don't know if I want to browse mindlessly. I don't want scripted program. I just want fucking YouTube. Like I want stuff that I don't, you know. If I'm like watching a movie or a TV show, I'm actually looking for something a little better. I'm looking for something that I'm going to give my full attention to. I'm not looking for background noise that in that way. If I want background noise, I can podcast, YouTube, like just I'm getting it from other places. So I guess that's a thing. I'm not a streaming service actually makes sense to me as background noise if that's what you want. I'm not interested in that part of it. So to me, so I think that's part of the disconnect for me is because I just think about, well, you just get the files of the thing you want and then you have it and can watch it anytime. Whereas a lot of people who talk about how physical media is important because then you have the thing, um, aren't thinking about the piracy or whatever angle, the having a file on your computer part of it. However, you acquire that file, because to me the thing isn't the like physical media is like separate from the art or whatever. Like I like having a DVD or Blu-ray that sits on my shelf if it's a thing I like. But if I want to watch the movie, the high quality file I can have on my computer is a much more convenient way to watch the movie. I don't get anything out of putting that DVD in my PlayStation 5 that's more annoying than using my computer, because I have my computer hooked up to my TV because that's how I watch things. So there are like levels to which people get into this stuff because of the way their home setup is. They just don't connect with me. And like, everyone has their interests, and I have my things. I care about collectibles. Like I care about owning books. That brings me the most joy, I will say. Like having a book I can flip through and look at just makes me happier than looking at that stuff on a screen. I read comics on screens plenty, and there's a convenience to it, but like having the book has a higher level of, I like how that looks on a shelf. That just has a much greater appeal to me than DVD. Any disc, particularly discs, I just don't. I had too many bad experiences with discs over the years. Where they get scratched, particularly like early on in discs, that I just don't value them that highly. I don't think of them as permanent. I feel like they're very vulnerable objects for whatever the fuck that's worth. Like I think of the movie as the files that exist on the disc, not the disc. The disc is a different thing, and I don't value owning a disc. Having like the box art or whatever, that's cool, like, or whatever, that's neat. And video games is a similar thing. Like, I value disc based, owning a disc of a game much lower than I value owning cartridge based games. Though for my favorite games, I still, I would like to own them. I went out of my way to pick up a copy of Final Fantasy VII on PlayStation, because I didn't have it. That's like the big one I can think of. Outside of, like, when I would go to, I used to just, my way of looking for neat games to play used to just be go to GameStop or whatever and look for stuff that's cheap or whatever. Like, look for games. Like, that's how I have a games library, is because I would look for stuff to play and then I would buy it. It's a different mode of engaging with a thing than, like, I'm collecting a thing. I'm going to just buy it because I want the physical object or whatever. And I engage with that form of collecting not that much. I more do it for, I've had periods of my time where I was like, I need the new thing that I want to check out. Like, I'm going to the used bookstore every week to look for comic book stuff that I want, because I want to fucking read stuff. Because I'm voracious in this time period for reading stuff. Currently not true. Or whatever. And it's fun. And I've found over the years, get more joy out of owning books. Owning CDs, not that interesting to me. I never had a big CD collection, so I don't even have that much nostalgia for the form. I really didn't get into having my own personal music library until I was, downloading everyone's iTunes library at college, because you could just grab other people's stuff over the network. Like, that's where my music library came from, or what, like, my interest in having a music library. So that's how I think of it. Movies, again, I have a pretty substantial DVD collection, and I built it mostly in college because at the time, having a DVD of a thing made it more easy to share it and watch it with people, which was like the big appeal. But as an adult, I'm not doing that ever. So, much less appeal. Also, I'm not out here watching DVDs. I'm going to go see if I can get a higher quality file, which is sort of what I wanted to talk about. Because they did buy a Blu-ray, I bought a recently released Blu-ray of Godzilla versus Biollante, which, another thing, when I bought, it might have been, I don't remember if it was one, it must have been when I bought a PS4 or whatever, because I think that was the first device I had that could play Blu-rays. So I was like, I should own some Blu-rays. And I was like, what do I want to own on Blu-ray? And the answer was Godzilla and Gamera movies. Obviously. And not the classic ones. The ones from the 90s and the early 2000s, because that's really the core, the stuff that I really truly love. I feel like is that era. A little cooler, a little less. I mean, I like the classic movies fine, but if I'm being real, what I like is Godzilla versus Biollante, and I don't remember the tagline on that Gamera movie. What's it, fucking Guardian of Destruction or whatever? Is that what that movie's called? The first 90s one? Oh my god, this Wikipedia article is so long. Where are the movies? Guardian of the Universe. It's Guardian of the Universe, Attack of Legion, and Revenge of Iris. In which a guy throws a knife and it bounces back at him. Because I remember being in the video store as a teen or young teen, and Gamera, Guardian of the Universe, was on the TV. The TV's in there, and I was like, I need to rent it. I need to see this movie, and then I did, and it was fucking glorious. Let me tell you, that movie is so fucking good. Gamera, Guardian of the Universe, is better than most 90s Godzilla movies. It is truly, truly great. And the classic Gamera movies are just a level of cheapness and stupid above even the old Godzilla movies. They're quite something to behold. They have their high moments are so high. I just love that stuff. So I wanted all like my favorites of the Godzilla movies on Blu-ray. So I got, Shin Godzilla first. Then I picked up the other ones, which all came in 2-packs. So I had some movies that I don't quite care about as much because the pairings are fucking bizarre. The movies that are actually sequels, not paired together. The 2 Mechagodzilla movies, not in the same pack. Infuriating. But a movie missing from all those packs was the one that when me and Ben did our Godzilla rankings was like my favorite of the 90s ones. Like it came in like, it's not Godzilla Final Wars. I kind of like it more. I don't know. It's a pretty different movie. Like, it's not as good as Shin Godzilla, but its high moments are so fucking high. Which is Godzilla versus Biollante, which is really the first in its era, its run of movies, because Godzilla 1985 came first, but there's like a several years gap, and Godzilla versus Biollante and Godzilla 95 is like trying to do something different. It's like to be more serious, despite ending with the fucking love ballad to Godzilla, which is incredible. But it's way more Cold War focused. And Godzilla vs. Biollante really sets the formula for what the series is going forward until all through Godzilla Final Wars. Or at least Godzilla versus Destroyer. And it's really fucking good. And it's fun. And it's ridiculous. And in the effects, Biollante is one of the most incredible suits they ever friggin' created, and it's ridiculous. And like it just looks so cool. A giant mouth full of teeth. The Venom fanboy in my heart. I'm like, this is the Godzilla movie I love the most. Yeah, it's basically the era, the run of it through Destroyer, and then Godzilla 2000 kind of like restarts the machine up again after that. And that movie was not on Blue. It was like barely released on Blue, but it was out of print, and it was not in print. It was not a thing I could buy for a reasonable amount of money. And like the other versions looked bootleggy as hell, so I didn't even know if any of that stuff was real. And it wasn't until like, this year It might have come out last year. I don't. I'm not, it. I didn't like get on it immediately as it released. I found out a little later. From Criterion, put out a new release of it with a new like transfer. Um. And it makes me so happy to to own that movie on Blu-ray now. I'm so thrilled. Um. Marin 4K, I think. Uh. And so that movie also just looks better than it's ever looked before because Blu-ray transfers are pretty DVD copies are pretty hit and miss on quality. It wasn't the greatest DVD in the world. Also, it has the Criterion disc has some special feature stuff, some makings of that I hadn't seen before that are incredible. I think they're probably from a Japanese Blu-ray or Japanese DVD probably, maybe even Laserdisc. They're probably from a Laserdisc release. That's really where the secret of, particularly with Japanese media, like the secret of where special features came from was Laserdisc. And then DVD just was like repurposed a lot of them. Obviously, not in all cases. Some DVD made plenty of new things, but that's really where it started. And with commentary tracks and stuff. Yeah. So there is an appeal to me in owning that movie because I love that movie. And it's important to me or whatever. But I don't need to own Jurassic Park on Blu-ray. I'm good. Like, I like to own the top the top tier movies. There are movies that I like, more than Jurassic Park that are like in my top 10 of the century. That I'm like, I don't need to own that on Blu-ray or whatever. Like the movies that actually bring those are like those Godzilla movies. It's like childlike wonder, joy movies, rather than like, oh, this movie is thematic or important or whatever. I'm rambling a little because like a bunch of those movies I have on DVD. I'm fine having it on DVD on my shelf. I don't need the Blu-ray because I have a thing on my shelf from the time when I cared about that physical media, and I can just watch the movie in a better way somewhere else. Like there's those two things. It's fine. Whatever. Shin Godzilla, I want to own. Shin Ultraman, I want to own. I'm really fucking mad there isn't a release for Shin Kamen Rider as of now in English with English subtitles or whatever from my knowledge, because that got picked up by Amazon and they haven't put out a physical release. That's annoying. When it doesn't exist, that's annoying. But I don't know. Sometimes you want to own a thing and sometimes you don't care. I don't know where I'm going with this. Mostly that I don't care about discs. But sometimes you care. Sometimes you just want to own a thing. And the way I will say it the most is like, I also fell down a rabbit hole of looking at Star Wars home media releases because Star Wars is a thing I don't own. I might own literally just A New Hope on DVD. Maybe. But I don't have all of Star Wars on DVD. What I have it on that I care about is I have the last pre-special edition release with the faces on VHS, and I have the the full screen edition because I'm watching that on a fucking 4x3 TV. Like, give me the chopped up, the chopped up version. It's fine. I don't need it, and I don't need it in the true widescreen. If this is how I'm watching it, give me the TV edited for TV version. I'm fine. And I just like having that box. I like the shape of that box. The widescreen edition box is like way more awkward to have on a shelf because it like puts them in a line, whereas the box just sticks them next to each other and then there's a box around it. It's just a nicer thing to have on a shelf. And I own Empire also on beta, which I also love that I own that. It makes me so happy. What a great thing to have, you know? So actually, because I just weirdly value alternate media more than I value discs. I don't know why, but discs to me are just fucking fake physical media, kind of. The packaging is still pretty appealing to have on a shelf, so like arguably, like that's an argument for getting a cheap DVD over getting a Blu-ray, I think, for what I would care about. But either way, you know, kind of whatever. But the other thing is, for what I think matters for physical media is stuff like new transfers that are good. So like a new 4K release or a new better Blu-ray or even DVD when it happened. Like buying that stuff new, I actually think is where like putting, if you like care about the medium and want to put your dollar somewhere, that's important. Because that's the kind of stuff that makes the world better. Because then when that thing goes out of print, it's the file can still be preserved and shared, and you get a better version of the movie. When the release is good, and or whatever, or and like you know, or if it has a special feature that didn't exist before or whatever, that's shit to celebrate. So if you care about stuff in that way and supporting with your dollar, I think that's important. I also just get, but I also just get the appeal of going to a used store and finding what you think is cool and picking that up because you were there and it is there. That's valid. I just don't want to do that with DVDs ever again. That's not where I'm at with that. I will books and comics all day. That's where I would want to do that though. But that's just my taste. Video games, again, non-disc based games more appealing, cartridge based games. But the video game used market is so fucking expensive. It's like sucked all the fun out of it for me. Because I just look at games that I would like to own. I'm like, that's too much money. I don't know. Or they like only have garbage I don't care about or whatever. Like a million 360 games that are just like not appealing at all or whatever. Because I have looked for used game things. I used places that had used games like not that long ago, several years. And it was just like, you know, out of my price. It's just like, this is too expensive for what this value is to me in my heart. If I'm gonna spend real money, I want it to be a game I actually care about, and it has less to do with using it as a way to play the thing than it is wanting to own the physical object on a shelf because there are better ways to play it. And the one I'm like the most torn up about is N64 stuff, because I would love to own Star Fox 64 on cartridge, but I don't own a way to play an N64 game. It's like it's one of the consoles I don't have a way to actually play that stuff. And I don't really want to invest in doing it because there are just better ways to. I have a mister that plays those games, in a way that's perfectly acceptable to me. I have a the Switch Online controller probably works much better than any classic game N64 controller I'm gonna track down, because those that work well are gonna be expensive, and those controllers just wore out so fast. Like even at the time, those controllers were just like they would turn to dust in your hand. And it's like really important to me, the nostalgia of those games. That control stick like matters. So I can play StarCraft 64 on the Mister, and that's fine. I don't need to spend whatever it costs to get to track down a physical copy of StarCraft 64. If I really wanted to play StarCraft, that's like the absolute worst way to play it. The remaster version on PC is so good. And like the appeal of StarCraft 64 is purely in nostalgia for me. It's not like if I had to when I have booted it up, and it's like not that good an experience. It's nostalgic for me, but like part of the nostalgia of that for me was playing it multiplayer with a friend. There's a lot of stuff tied into it. That being the version that was in front of me that I banged my head against or whatever to beat the Terran campaign. Like the characters don't animate as much. There's just like million reasons to not play that version. And if it were affordable, having a physical version of it just on a shelf would be fun, because that is a piece of media that's important to me. But in that space, the prices are just crazy. So there's always that. There's always that. And again, the amount it's tied to, I think, I'm talking in fucking circles. The amount of joy you personally get out of it is the whole thing. And for me, I just find that I get more personal joy out of books than I do out of collecting other stuff. Despite my, fairly substantial, because of the number of years in which I've bought stuff, collections of video games and movies or whatever. Because I just never got rid of anything. I just still have it all. But even when I want to play old consoles, I find that mods that let you run stuff off an SD card are much better than than like putting in the actual game into letting the system touch the actual game. It's a mistake. I think my Super Nintendo, I still would do that, but I have, two other systems. I have a Super NT and a Mister. I can also run a Super Nintendo game without putting a cartridge in. But Super Nintendo is a thing. It was important to me to have a little library of Super Nintendo games. I like those carts. Great appeal. Again, they got a little too fucking expensive for me to care beyond the ones that I super care about, but Like owning Spider-Man, extremely important to me. I would love to own Maximum Carnage, but do I want to own it that much? I don't know how much it is currently. I know the one that I was like, I have to fucking get this was War of the Gems, the Capcom beat 'em up. That's like kind of a tie-in to Marvel superheroes because it has like the same plot where you're fighting Thanos. Um, Again, this is nostalgia. That game has Spider-Man in it. I just like that game more than I like Maximum Carnage for whatever reason. Yeah, I don't know. Physical media. Yeah, and the special features on that Biollante thing, the makings of, are so cool. I love seeing makings of those 90s. Like the Gamera ones are so fucking good. Of making those that era of movies because the way they do the practical effects are so fucking cool. And the Godzilla, they have the big fucking water tank. That's so fucking neat. And it's like, we have this fucking water tank. We gotta keep making these fucking movies. I love the realities of that. You're invested in making more of these movies because you built this stupid fucking thing so you can simulate a monster standing in the ocean. It's so good. When you CG that shit, you have to fucking CG it every fucking time. Or whatever. Gotta make it brand new all over again. You don't get to reuse your work in the same way. Subsidize a series and churn out movies every year. Important. It's an important part of the process. You know. Does it look cheap and bad, and do people complain about it? Yes. It's also important. Because making a thing is better than not making a thing. When you make stupid movies and you don't make one for 18 months, you're basically dead. Marvel. Speaking of Marvel, I should stop. I've been rambling about fucking nothing for an hour. So I just wanted to I'll briefly go through some other stuff. I read the X-Men manga. So, and this is a adaptation of the 90s cartoon. It was done in manga form. At the time the show was being made. So it's from the 90s. And it's like been recently re-released in English by Viz. And it's like, and every sort of story is done by a different artist. So there's some tone changes as the art shifts or whatever. But it's mostly pretty faithful to the plot of that show. But it's just much easier to revisit because it's good comics as opposed to a show that's not great television. As someone who loved that show as a kid, I loved that show, but it doesn't hold up. I would not. It's just not that good. It doesn't hold this. It's what it's good for is memes because the voice acting is often bizarre in ways that are tremendous. So there's still great appeal, but the animation isn't particularly good. They weren't allowed to like show violence in the way you would want. The one that sticks out to me is there's a fight where a fight where I think the only thing that happens is someone like briefly grabbing Magneto's cape before it slips out of their fingers, and then someone's like, "That's enough." Um, Wolverine does punch Cyclops that one time though. That was sick. Uh, but yeah, but no, getting that in a comic book form, if you like that show, just I recommend that comic book a lot. It's very appealing, I think. I think it's just good. And part of that is the art in one of the early ones. Maybe the first, maybe the second, is very charming. It's like just a little extra sillier. Jubilee makes some good faces. Good times. And it's a great onboarding, I think. I think it's actually the best onboarding because it has the appeal of, I think that show in general was pretty good onboarding for someone who knew fucking nothing. It's certainly better than 90s X-Men comics, which I have a whole fucking thing about. Is how impenetrable 90s X-Men was. It was like the biggest thing in the world, but it was also fucking unreadable. Whereas in the 80s, X-Men became the biggest thing in the world, and those are classic comic books that are just, old and wordy. But actually, even at the time, 90s X-Men, fucking unreadable. Just too dense with ongoing soap opera and bullshit. Despite, being the best-selling comic books of all time. As far as superhero stuff goes. So yeah, X-Men Manga Remastered, I think it's called. It doesn't cover the full show. They didn't make it over the full show, and only I think that there's more that hasn't been released yet, but there are only 2 volumes out currently. But good stuff. Other thing I will go out on so that this episode can end is I'll give you a little anecdote. I was reading some article about some fucking video game stuff or whatever, and the writer offhandedly happened to mention how their grandpa or some parental figure, I think it was like grandpa, was really into Peanuts and just tried to get them to read Peanuts. And they were like, I don't want to read Peanuts. That's not for me. I care about Mario Tennis or whatever. And just offhandedly, they said the line, I just fucking hate Charlie Brown. And this triggered in me a memory because I would not say I am the world's biggest Peanuts fan. But I was when I was exposed to the first Peanuts strip. I don't know if you read the first Peanuts strip, but that's what this anecdote is about. I grew a whole new appreciation for Peanuts because the first Peanuts strip is one of, I think, the greatest comic book strips of all time, in which there's a boy and a girl sitting on the sidewalk, and you see Charlie Brown, walking towards them. And the first panel, the boy says, "Oh, here comes old Charlie Brown." Second panel, he's like, Charlie Brown's like, he's arrived. He's right in front of them. And the boy says, "Good old Charlie Brown." "Yes, sir." And the next panel, Charlie Brown has passed them. They're watching. They're looking to the right. They're watching him walk away. Now it's good old Charlie Brown. ... And then the final panel, the boy says, "How I hate him." And it's the thing. That's Charlie Brown. It's the kid. The fucking world hates him. And just everything that happens with that character after that just makes more sense to me now. That's where he comes from. You just look at that kid and you're like, I fucking hate him. It's just interesting to me that like Peanuts is just the idea of a thing that exists in the monoculture as like a pop culture icon thing that you actually when something is like that, you don't actually interact with the thing as it was conceived and existed in the world or whatever. Like nobody's going back and reading like the comic book strip that Popeye is from. Or what, like, where, like, you know, Olive Oil in Thimble Theater, where Olive Oil was the main character for years before Popeye was invented as a character. Like, people have a cultural understanding of a thing without, you know, fully actually encountering it on their own. They get it through osmosis. So like you get exposed to Snoopy or whatever, flying a plane, or playing tennis, and it's, you know, it's just a different thing. You don't encounter the core of the thing, and it's just funny to me that just like actually they did experience the core of the thing. They just didn't know that was the intent. They'd missed what the thing was in front of them. I just think it's funny. It's part of why I like looking into the history of things, because you never know where a thing came from. Usually, it was better before. Usually, where it's gotten to now might be shit, but once there was maybe something compelling there. I don't know. Or something better. It's why it's why I like looking into media to learn. Learning is fun. You find, oh, the shit that was old was actually better. Maybe it was better before. Or whatever. I don't know. I'm rambling. That's a podcast, I guess. Let me know your thoughts. I definitely know that I talked in circles a little bit too much. So I need like a fucking timer to move me on to another topic, I guess. Because I think I just said the same thing like 10 times or whatever. And I'm still talking now, but whatever. If you made it this far, thank you. Your patience is infinite. Peace.